Yes, a very interesting squad, and as usual, when the national team is announced, there's always debate that is generated, and this time around is no exception. I've seen a few names that are flying around regarding the names that have been summoned, the players that have been summoned, and then the names that have been omitted. And among those names that have been omitted is defender Tandy Mwape, who's said to be unattached at the moment. So on that score, you'd say that Coach Avram Grant is on firm ground because he does repeatedly that there will be no sacred cows, or rather there will be no personal to holder positions in our national team. So he will be looking at form. He will be looking at players that are on form to be able to qualify for the national team. And for Tandy Mwape, who is formerly of TP Mazembe and currently unattached, you would understand that he's been omitted. Then when you look at the rest of the players that have been called, again, you begin to say there are some players that haven't seen so much action at their clubs. Among them, our trump card, our top scorer in the Africa Cup qualifying series, Patson Daka. He hasn't seen so much action at Leicester City. But then this is a part where you ask yourself, a Patson Daka who is not playing consistently at Leicester City, and what he brings to the team, can you compare him to any other striking options that we have? There are some players. There are some names that have come up. For example, Andrew Peary, the current top scorer with 7 goals in the league, and he's young. He's been scoring goals. Others have even gone to the extent of saying that Andrew Peary has scored a lot of goals from the penalty spot. When you compare him like for like with Patson Daka, you think that Patson Daka brings a wealth of experience, while there's still a lot that Andrew Peary has to offer for him to stake his claim in the national team. But the debate is healthy, actually. It's a debate that we should have. And there's only one person really who has a say over who is invited to play in the national team, and that's Coach Avram Grant. For him, he has to look at what player he's going to call and what each player brings to the table. There's something he's looking at in every player that he wants. The attributes of each player. He's looked at every player and said, I'm going to go for this one ahead of the other because the attributes of this one is exactly what I want. Do I need to go into defensive mode, or do I need to go into attacking mode? Remember, these are home and away qualifiers. And it's always said that when you're playing such kind of series, you are better off winning all your home matches. So he obviously wouldn't go for a defensive formation. He want to have very good striking options. Personally, I would have loved to have players like the same Andrew Peary. I would have loved to have a lot of players who campaign in the local league, just to give them that experience of being in the national team. I think there's usually the factor of the cost.
This is not time for experiments, Xavier. Just to have someone in the national team?
Yes, there's something they do about. There are players that have shown at their clubs, but when they go to the national team, they get what they call stage fright. So you want to try and expose them in their younger age. Like Andrew Peary has been exposed to the under 23, has been exposed in the senior team before. What I was trying to say is that in terms of cost, since this is a home leg of our qualifier, I think if you had a player like Andrew Peary in the national team setup, even if you are calling him as a non-playing member of the squad, the exposure will do him a world of good, such that in an event that you have fewer striking options and you want Andrew Peary to step up, he would have already gained that experience. And the camaraderie in the national team is very important. These players need to get to know each other as playmates. They've probably met as playing on opposing sides in the league, but now they need to meet and as a group that is representing the country. So that's a part I was saying. As a way of exposing some of the players, you could call them even to the pre-national team camping period before they even go to the final 23. You get maybe 50 of them. In that 50, there are so many players that will need exposure. Some are from the under 23, others are from the under 17. They've been tried and tested before. It's very important that these guys are camped together. They begin to know each other. That way, the exposure is very important. But like I said, Avram Grant is the one who holds the cards in his hand. He's the one who knows what he wants from every player. I've seen people who've said some players before have been summoned when they were unattached, but why has the rule changed over Tandy Mwape? I think the national team technical bench or the technical directorate at Football Association of Zambia, they are aware of what every player who's eligible to be called to the national team is doing. They'll be able to be in contact with the player themselves or the agents, or is it the clubs, to be able to communicate with them that you are in our plans, but for this particular encounter, we think that the players that have been called are enough, but be on standby. Whenever we require your services, we'll be able to call you.
For this kind of qualifiers, you want players that have been tried and tested before, because there is no room for you to start experimenting. I know national teams do not meet like the way clubs do, where every week you have access to the players. You only have access to the players maybe for 2 days before the crucial encounter. So in this case, I'm sure those that are saying, let's just get those that have been tried and tested to do the battle for Mother Zambia.
Exactly, I agree with your point. But the point I was trying to make is that, for example, we have a double header kind of qualifiers. We've got a qualifier on Friday, and then we've got another one the following Tuesday. Meaning that if we had called a bigger pool of players and anything was to happen in the first game against Congo Brazzaville, where you need to bring up a backup player, if you had already called a bigger pool of players, at least you've got someone to fall back on, as compared to get an injured player, then you have to summon another who's already engaged in league skirmishes. It might be difficult. But I totally agree that Coach Avram Grant calls the shots. He knows which players he wants. He, more than anyone else, would know that anything other than a win in the first of the qualifying series is something that the soccer fans as stakeholders want. And I think when we're analyzing such matches, we should be able to put out a disclaimer that as soccer fans, we're very selfish. We don't want any loss. We don't want the national team to lose. We don't want any excuses being given in an event we don't get the required results. And for some people, actually, they will have a connection with the players. This player is someone I used to play with when I was growing up. This player he plays for a club that I support. This player goes to the church that I go to. So some of those connections, from your selfish point of view, you want to see them in the national team. But for Coach Avram Grant, he's not looking at any of those issues, sentimental connections or emotional connections. For him, he wants a player who is going to be set out on the pitch and be able to get us the results that we require.
And for you that might not have come across the final 25-man squad for World Cup qualifiers back-to-back, home against Congo on November 17th and away to Niger on November 21st. Goalkeepers, there's Charles Kalumba, Lawrence Mulenga, Francis Mwansa. Midfielders, Kings Kangwa, Cletus Chota Chama, Benson Sakala, Andrew Mupande, Emmanuel Banda, Gordon Mafueta, Rally Bwalia, Lubambo Msonda, Edward Chitufia, Kelvin Kampamba. In defense, Benedict Chapeshi, Stopila Nsunzu, Kilian Kanguruma, Dominic Chanda, Luca Banda, Rodrick Kabwe, and Zephania Piri. Strikers, Lamek Banda, Patson Daka, Brian Mwila, Fashion Sakala, and Evans Kangwa. Some stellar names there.
Yes, actually, it's a blend that I'm looking at. Stellar names in form of the Patson Dakas of this world, Fashion Sakala, Evans Kangwa. These are stellar names that anyone who's going to compile our national team at the moment would have on the list as the first names to be included. But I'm looking at the players that are playing in the local league that have been included. Players like Benedict Chepeshi, he's an ever-present in the Red Arrows lineup. He's a captain. Player like Stopira Sunzu who bring that balance, that experience to the team. You have people like Rodrick Kabwe. They've also been in and around the national team. I'm happy for Zephania Piri. He's one of those players that have been. He has quietly been playing consistently in the local league, and now that he's gained this recognition, I think is something that will make him work even harder. There are players in the goalkeeping department. We've always been worried about it, and every time the coaches have been shuffling who to start and go and all. But these three, Charles Kalumba, Lawrence Mlenga, and to some extent Francis Mwansa, they've been showcasing their skill in the local league. I think they deserve their place in the national team, going by what they've done for their clubs. I would actually love a kind of debate where you say, I think in place of Fashion Sakala, let's have Fashion Sakala, with all that he has done in the Saudi Arabian League. I think he's not fit to be called for this particular game. Let's instead call this other player.
What do you mean he's not fit?
No, what I mean is that if the debate is centered around that kind of conversation,
I
that
see.
let's drop Fashion for this reason and let's bring in player B, because this attribute is what we need against Congo Brazzaville. For example, someone who looks at the Congo Brazzaville national team and says their strongest weapon is a midfield, and then you bring our midfielders and say, oh, in terms of height, Cletus Chama is shorter than their midfield trump card, so let's replace him for someone taller. That kind of debate is healthy. But for you to just say that this player should be dropped because he hasn't been playing consistently at the national team, at his club rather, I think it's way unfair for some of our consistent players in the national team.
And so would like to wish the Zambia national soccer team all the best as they take on Congo Brazzaville at the Levi Mwanawasa Stadium on November 17th. Then after that, they will go away and play Niger on November 21st. The fans need to turn up in numbers. Xavier, you do appreciate the fact that the fan plays a significant part in cheering the team to victory. They can even play a part in demoralizing the team if the chips are down.
Exactly.
And the team needs encouragement. So people need to fill up Levi Mwanawasa Stadium and cheer our boys massively.
We really need to fill up Levi Mwanawasa Stadium. And the game has been put on a Friday evening. We know that Friday evenings are always a preserve of what can we call merrymaking, and I think starting on a football note will be very interesting. For
Just say on Friday you go to drink beer. Why are you beating about?
I did want to narrow it down to the alcohol because not everyone drinks. I think to start the weekend on a football note will be very interesting, especially if we manage to rally behind the team and we win. It will also be interesting to start with a win at home, knowing that we have got Niger in the following match. To be very impressive if the fans turn out in large numbers, try to orchestrate a win. Then when Niger comes calling, we need to start the campaign on a sound note so that we don't start calculations already early days into the qualifying series. And teams like Congo Brazzaville, I think they've exported so much talent in the European leagues, primarily the French league and other Eastern European countries, where they nurture talent so much. They don't. They've imported a lot of talent from West Africa. I think Congo Brazzaville will not be a pushover in these qualifiers, and it will be very impressive if we start with a win. And like Dazo said, we need to call upon the fans to turn up in numbers. It's Friday evening, no one will be working, so let's fill up Levi Mwanawasa Stadium and ensure we get a win.
Guess who's joined us? The one and only Asprilla Mambo Kalapa.
You know the name.
Now, good morning, Mambo. It's good to have you on the show. Before, or at least you can say hi, then I wanted to read some messages that we've received via the 5FM Facebook page. You can just say hi to the people.
Yeah, good morning, our dear listeners. Always a pleasure to have this interaction with you.
Thank you. Some messages received this far. Lloyd Chola, watching you from John Leng in Lusaka. But let's call it the way we call it. John Leng.
I was like, where is that place?
John Leng.
Where is that?
John Leng.
John Leng.
Okay. Then the other message, Alan Sika Poto, watching you from Mazaboga in Southern Province. Gredeo Mudea writes and says, Dazwan Company, good morning. please, what is the dark cloud that comes over us when it comes to Women Africa Cup, where our captain Barbara Banda is concerned? This player played at the World Cup, but I'm hearing some voices to say she will not take part in the Women Africa Cup games. Why? Please shed more light. Dazo, thanks. Hala Real Madrid. He's a Real Madrid fan.
Sometimes it becomes Wala in Madrid.
Thank you, Gradel. Yes, Mambo.
Yeah, good morning once again. Maybe to respond to the Barbara Banda situation, I think it still remains the on the African on the CAF part side of it in terms of the requirements, in terms of the starting that has changed from the way it was last time around. So it's still not going to, unless otherwise something changes. But again, what baffles our listeners and many soccer fans alike is that if she is eligible to play at the World Cup, the biggest tournament, of which CAF is a member or an affiliate of the biggest
subsidiary.
A subsidiary of the mother body. Yeah. Yeah, and for them, they feel I don't know whether to say they have got different rules pertaining to the same issue of testosterone levels and the like. So as it were, the situation still remains the same unless otherwise things are going to be amended and changed as we get closer to the qualifiers and the tournament itself. So far, I think for the women tournament, for the women group, we have been doing pretty well, apart from not maybe having defended the COSAFA tournament. But all in all, it was more of trying to give chance to other and upcoming lasses who performed very well. We need to have a huge pool of players. But all in all, we could have played a couple of games against, is it Congo? Congo Brazzaville or Mali for the Olympics qualifiers, Mali,
It
but
was Mali.
they pulled out. So yeah, so we are playing Ghana in the next qualifiers for the Olympics. But all in all, for the Africa Cup of Nations, Women's Africa Cup of Nations, the status quo remains the same.
By the time we'll be coming on the show next Saturday, Zambia would have played on Friday. So we can as well build up to that game against Congo Brazzaville. Let me start with you, Mambo. How do you rate Zambia's chances against Congo Brazzaville, given lately the Zambia national soccer team have done so well? They've accounted for themselves so well in the games that they've played.
Yeah, in the friendly matches, they really
we also beat Ivory Coast in the qualifiers for the Africa Cup of Nations.
That was a competitive match, and if anything to go by, we play as we played against Ivory Coast at the same venue. I think it's gonna be a very, very good outing for Zambia. But what is worrying me is who's gonna partner Stopira Nsunzu at the heart of the defense. Probably, definitely. For me to say who's going to partner Stopira Nsunzu, we know for sure, unless otherwise something changes. He's one of our key players. Yes, he hasn't played so many games for Zambia, but the last game when he played against Ivory Coast, he really brought to forward some of what we have seen in terms of the experience here he has garnered over the time. And he was just there. The presence was good enough in terms of the partnership that he had formed with Frankie Msonda, who is not available for this match because of his injured, of course. And then we have got Tandy Mwape. He's been one of the mainstays in that Zambia defense in the recent matches, and he's not available. So two of the players that have played almost about 4 or 5 games consistently for Zambia in the last 5 games or so are not going to be available. So there's going to be definitely some sort of changing and chopping in terms of that back line, the way it's going to look. In goal, maybe probably again, could it be Lawrence Mulenga? Could it be Charles Kalumba? Or could it be Francis Mwansa to be in goal just in front of that back four that we expect to have? So all in all, I think there's also the emergency of Zakaria Piri, who did very well last season. We saw how he played for Prison Leopards when they had that fullback kind of attack. That is Prison Leopards when they had Chirongoshi on the other side and Zakaria Piri on the other side, left and right fullbacks, how they were going forward, assisting the attack and all that. And we saw how good he is in terms of delivering in the final third when Zambia played against Uganda. So definitely maybe right back where Chapeshi has almost been a mainstay could face a situation of some changing there. So for me, I think it's more of how we manage to compose that back four. How are they going to be comfortable playing alongside each other? We do not have so much in terms of time, or whereby we feel we can have another friendly in between. Time is already gone. The next match is the competitive one against Congo Brazzaville. So for me, how is the back four going to adapt playing against each other? Maybe for the first time, most of them, probably Roderick is going to take up that left back position. But for me, I'm very comfortable going forward, apart from a little bit uncomfortability I have with the back four. Up front, for me, I think I'm very much certain. As much as Patson Daka has not been getting game time for Leicester, I think he has proved a vital cog for the Zambia national soccer side in terms of how he's applying himself, how he's scoring goals for Zambia. And then we also have Fashion Sakala, who has had so much in terms of game time already at his club in Saudi Arabia, Al Fayed. And we have seen him playing in the Asian Champions League as well, where Al Fayed have not actually done so impressive. The competition is quite stiff in there. But all in all, I think he's always been one of those players that we consider to be key. Lamek Banda has recovered timely from his injury that he had. And I think for me, it's a very, very big booster. We saw how he played last weekend against AS Roma, assisting in that 2-1 defeat, a very, very hurting 2-1 defeat where they lost in the very, very dying minutes of the game, 2-1, Lukaku being the chief tormentor in charge after having missed a penalty earlier on. So for me, I think the composition of the team looks very good. Edward Chirufya is getting very good game time at Haken. Then you have the likes of Benson Sakala probably could come in and fill the void that is going to be left again by the injured Kapumbu in there. So a lot of missing elements that we feel have come in and solidified their position in the team. So it's about now the coach having a good pool of players in terms of who comes in and make a replacement. I think that's why you need these friendlies for. That's why we played those friendlies against Egypt and against Uganda. These are some of the games where you need to try some players and see where they can fit, just in case one of those players that you depend on has got some sort of an injury, like the case is at the moment. So all in all, for me, I think we look set without really looking so much at the opposition. I think we are very much set in terms of preparations. We have had very good friendlies, quality friendlies. You cannot get any better than playing against Uganda, a very, very solid side, playing against Egypt, a very, very strong side, and all that we have done so far. So for me, I think we are looking in good state. I know for Patson, it's more like an audition. I think for me, January is very, very close as we go to the Africa Cup of Nations. I think for me, the coach is seemingly not so much interested. I saw the last game where Leicester City lost against Leeds United. The coach had an opportunity to make 5 substitutions. Leicester City are down. He's got a striker on the bench and he's not he's not putting in. He just makes 3 substitutes. You still have 2 substitutes available to make, and you want to throw the kitchen sink at the opponent, and you got a striker who is proven, he can score goals. Definitely for me, the coach at Leicester City does not trust him. It's not about Patson Daka being bad or anything like that. We have seen he's scoring for Zambia. So for me, it's more about the coach at Leicester not trusting for whatever reason.
I can go and talk to Ateta if you organize an air ticket for me so that
what happens.
Patson Daka comes to Arsenal.
Probably you also need to talk to Jesus and Ketia.
Your prediction, Mambo?
I think Zambia are going to be getting this one 2-0.
Wow. Xavier, how do you look at the Congo Brazzaville Zambia game this coming Friday?
I think, having discussed the issue of which player has been called and which players have been left out, I tried to explain that in the striking department, I think we are very comfortable. We have that's where our strength is. Due to injuries, our defense might be limping a bit. Having said that, I think my prediction would be Zambia winning it 2-1.
All the best to the senior Chipolopolo boys as they lie in wait for Congo Brazzaville at the Levi Mwanawasa Stadium this coming Friday. Let's troop in numbers there and support our lads to the hilt because victory is certain. When we come next Saturday, God willing, we'll build up to the game that we'll play on Tuesday. And I'll also do a surgical postmortem of the game that would have taken place on Friday. Away from the Zambia national soccer team, the senior Chipolo Polo, the Football Association of Zambia has launched a Copa football. What does this do for the development of the beautiful game in Zambia?
I think this has been a long time coming. Some time back, I think some months ago, it was already announced that they were going to introduce the Copa ball. I think some tests were done, some trials were done for the ball to test just if it meets the standards of which it does. And for me, what we have seen, what we had been seeing in the recent past, more especially in the league, was a situation where each team has the ball of their preference. Like that's the one that they are going to use for training. Even when the opponent come to play, that's the ball that they are going to find to use. So if, for instance, Zesco United trains and uses the Umbro ball, when they come and play against maybe let's say Red Arrows would prefer probably maybe the Puma or Nike ball. So when Zesco United come, they will need to make a little bit of some adjustment in terms of the speed of the ball and all that. Yes, you may say there's a standard for the ball, but we know these manufacturers, they can differ depending on how they want to do, as long as they meet just the certain specifications. So it's not really like it has to be all the same. We saw how it was last time around. Remember the 2010 when we had that Jabulani ball, when players couldn't really adapt to it and the goalkeepers could complain, the strikers would feel happy about it in terms of the way it was moving in mid-air and all that kind of thing. So there's those kind of adjustments that you have to make. So for now, if the teams are going to be provided with that Copa ball, they'll train with that Copa ball. Match day, they'll find that Copa ball, and that's the one that they are going to use. So in terms of the ball speed and all that kind of thing, is not one of the excuses that you are going to find in terms of the players underperforming. And for us to have actually gotten to the point where now it's going to be official, and the ball that is going to be used on match days, most of the match days, more especially for club football in the Super League, I think it's a very, very good thing, and it's something that we've really been looking forward to. If you look at most of these leagues, South African League, Egypt League, let's not even talk about the EPL and these other leagues in Europe. They have got they use for every game, every team. That's the match ball that they use, one manufacturer, and we are getting towards there.
You forgot the Chama League.
Come on.
We have our own Chimpombo.
You use
that which stands the terrain.
League, we use this ball. When it goes out to somewhere where it will take a few minutes before it comes back, they will use another brand of it. That's how it's a different kind of chimpomba. Remember how you used to blow those you tie it up and then ball like Tanukeko.
The good old days. Nothing beats those. So natural, and it was just a pleasure being part of those. Xavier, your perspective on the Copa ball?
I think it's a very impressive development. Football is all about fair play, and fair play should start with the equipment that is going to be used in the game. We are talking about a match ball. You were just talking about our good old days. I remember covering matches in the professional Super League of ours, where a defender is clearing the ball and it goes beyond the fence. At some stadiums, you have to wait for so many minutes for someone to go and fetch the ball. So I think in terms of a professional league that we want to be now, with the issue of the Copa match ball, it will also go down to what each every match venue should have what number of match balls, so that you don't have a situation where the ball goes out of the perimeter fence, and if the striker who has gotten the ball in the stand the soccer fan rather who has gotten the ball delays to throw it back on the pitch, or even the ball boys nowadays, they join in what does cause game management. They delay to throw back the match ball on the pitch, and then the game is delayed. That's a fair play I'm talking about. So with the Copa match ball, I think FAS will also be able to rule that every match venue should have this number of footballs, so that they're playing, because we pay to watch football, not to watch players waiting for a match ball to be thrown back on the pitch. And also the issue of the weight of the ball, how it's pumped. It's very important that there should be fair play. Every venue should have the same manufacturer of the ball, same number of match balls, not where some venues use an undue advantage. They have a waterlogged pitch, and then the ball that the traveling team is using is used to using is not compatible with what they go and find at another venue. So it will be very important that we level the playing field. That is aside from other issues that have arisen, including the kit, including the match officiating. I think the last few weekends, the issue of match officiating has taken so much of our attention, because every loss now,
It's global.
Yes, be it in the European leagues, Champions League, in the EPL, every loss is being attributed to the match officiating. And in the local league, we saw it in midweek, where there was some issue between Kwazi and the FC Musa.
Yeah.
I think the referee made a decision, and then
They remained the decision.
rescinded the decision after some cajoling by some soccer fans. And I think the call for VAR in our local league, much as the call for VAR in the local league is now more important than ever, the jurisdictions that are using the VAR seem not to be helping the situation, because there are more mistakes under VAR than it were when we used to have those human errors that were part of the game.
Thank you, gentlemen. Before we move on to the next item, which will be the FAS MTN Super League fixtures, as well as a result from midweek, some messages received via the 5FM Facebook page. Thanks for your response over Barbara. I'm a soldier and I enjoy watching my soldier play. Now, friends, what is the story about Mabika Hala Madrid again? That's a great day there. Then Francis Nyanguru, good morning, DJ Dazo, Mambo and Senior Skype. Wonderful program. Thanks, you're back after missing in action. What's happening at Incana and Power Dynamos? What is happening? There's a derby tomorrow. That's what is happening.
I'm sure he's referring to.
I know.
He could be referring to the at Power, the issue of the coach announcing that he's leaving, and then
And acceptance of
acceptance
the
of the
resignation.
resignation at the point where we're being told he's rescinded his decision. So the back and forth, I'm sure that's what he's referring to.
All right. Now, in the interest of time, if we were to say we delve into analysis for the games that took place during the week, then after that we build up to this weekend, I don't think time will allow. What do you think, gentlemen? So you'll be factoring in the results of the games that
No,
took
but
place
as-
during the week as you will build up to games for today.
Yeah, sure.
But quickly, for those that could have missed the action during the week, these are the results. Games played on Wednesday, November 8th, 2023. MTN Super League, Week 11. Green Buffaloes 1, Zanaco nil. Kansanshi Dynamos 2, Cabo Warriors nil. Kwazi FC 2, FC Musa 1. Napsa nil, Trident nil. Prison Leopards 2, Forest Rangers 1. Zesco United 1. Red Arrows nil. Power Dynamos 2, Mutondo Stars nil, and saving the best for last, Konkola Blades 1, Kana 2.
There was another match. I thought that's the one you're saving for last.
Which one is that?
Green Eagles new, Mufulira Wanderers new.
Ah,
It took place on Thursday.
wonderful. With that said, gentlemen, let's now look at the games that are on today as well as tomorrow, Sunday, as the FAS Super League enters week 12. Games for Saturday: Red Arrows battling Green Buffaloes in the battle over the men in uniform. This is a lunchtime kickoff at 13 hours because it's going to be a doubleheader. It will be followed by Zanaco and Kansanshi Dynamos. Red Arrows, Green Buffaloes.
Well, Red Arrows having gone almost about 5 games without defeat. Eventually tasted defeat when they played against Zesco United last weekend on Thursday. On Wednesday, I mean, when they were beaten 1-0 by Zesco United. And this is the Red Arrows side that has really been very good. And it's just the last 3 games where they will seemingly came off a little bit when they couldn't manage a win from their last 3 encounters. Remember, they played against Power Dynamos in that game in which they leading 1-0 last weekend, and they were pegged back and drew that one 1-0. And then they had gone to Chilabombo a weekend prior to last when they were also held to a 1-0 draw. But this time around against Zesco United, they fired a blank. And then against Green Buffaloes, this is the Green Buffaloes are smarting from that very impressive 1-0 win over Zanaco with who has so far proved to be one of their consistent scorers. Green Buffaloes just had to bounce back after having been humiliated in their other match against Cabo Warriors when they were beaten 3-0. So this time around, facing this Red Arrows side, for me, I think I see more of Red Arrows being a stronger side against Green Eagles. I think for me, Red Arrows with Alassana Diarra in the middle of the pack, who has come back to Red Arrows, was one of those key and outstanding players when Red Arrows won the championship. And he has returned at Red Arrows, and the coaches definitely found that there was still a void and there was still a place for him, and he's available for Red Arrows. I think time and again I've said about Green Buffaloes not being so proficient in terms of scoring. They do not score so much in terms of goals. And George Ngoma, for me at least, he has come to the fore in the recent past and has been consistent a little bit in terms of scoring for them. Gordon Mashata can come to the fore in terms of making those assists. But I think Red Arrows still the superior side, not so much in terms of goals in this one. I expect, but I think Red Arrows will just nick it 1-0.
Sensational Zanaco up with Kansanshi Dynamos.
A team that only beat promoted sides.
That's your opinion.
It's not, it's a fact.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
Okay. So they are beating Kansanshi Dynamos.
It's not a promoted side.
Yes, Xavier. So they are losing.
I think
That's a bit harsh.
They are
man,
not
bro.
winning.
That's
Yes,
a bit harsh, man.
It's not harsh, but it's a reality. It's a fact. You can prove that with numbers.
Let's get to Xavier. How do you see this one panning out?
I think Zanaco, having lost to Green Buffaloes on Wednesday, they will come into this game searching for a win. That would be their first win in the last 3 matches. Kansanshi Dynamos on the other side beat table toppers Cabo Warriors in midweek action. So there are two teams coming from different fortunes in midweek. And like Mambo said, Zanaco hasn't been very consistent. Although they have their striker, Brian Muila, who seemed to be hitting top form when he scored that hat-trick against Konkola Blades. And for good measure, Konkola Blades is a promoted side. So what Mambo said has a grain of truth in it.
Too many grains.
It is just a coincidence.
Okay, the coincidence that Mambo alluded to, that Brian Muila scored a hat-trick against Konkola Blades, which propelled him to second on the top scorers log, and has seen him being called to the national team. I think at that point, Zanaco were looking like going on a winning trajectory, but then they got pegged back by Green Buffaloes, who beat them 1-0 in midweek. At the weekend, they drew 1-0 with Zesco United. Before that, they drew 1-0 with Power Dynamos. And the teams that they've lost to, I think, to be fair with Zanaco, there's no shame getting a point against Zesco United. There's no shame getting a point against defending champions Power Dynamos. Now, today, when they face Kansanshi, you would think that at Sunset Stadium, their home ground, Zanaco will start as favorites. I don't know if their trump card now, Brian Muila, who scored that hat-trick to take him to 4 goals, will be allowed to play in the local league, or is exempted as having been called to the national team. That could be what can I say? It's something that Zanaco will not be happy about in this instance, that their player has been called the national team. But on the other hand, it's time for other players to step up now that there's a position that gets vacant because your teammate has been called to the national team. And I think Coach Wedson Nyirenda, we all know that in teams that he has coached, he commands a lot of hard work from his players. And this is only week 13, I think. Looking at where Zanaco is placed, Wedson Nyirenda will be telling his troops to up their game against Kansashi Dynamos, who are involved in a change of coach in midweek. Usually when teams change coaches, I think there's a part where there's a new coach bounce in and around the team. The new coach will be telling the players, go there and enjoy yourselves. There's usually the part where they'll say, no, the coach has lost his dressing room. And when the coaches have been changed, we always see sometimes fortunes change instantly, or sometimes the road continues. I'm using the word the road as a figure of speech. I know that we are in a very sensitive times now, where everything you say, people are looking at it literally. But at Kansashi Dynamos, I think they haven't been so bad. They were bottom of the table, but they've gotten 2 wins this season already. They had gone 6 matches without the win, and how to get it? By beating league leaders Kawa Warriors. They'll only be looking to get another scalp in form of Zanaco. And if they do it here in Lusaka away from home, it will be very impressive for the new coach, although he's just standing.
Yeah, and what actually really worries me with Zanaco is their options up front. It's only Mwila Brian as the main striker that they have at the club.
Is he a player?
Yeah, like,
so they're supposed to use him.
If not Brian, he's injured or anything like that, what next? Because Musa Solimani, the one of the players they take as a striker, he's predominantly a midfielder. He's a very, very good midfielder. I think I like him more as a link-up player when he comes. Maybe as a number 10, he drops in. He's more of a link between the top and the main midfield. He's that kind of a player. So just to be so dependent, maybe that's reason why they do not score so many goals, apart from just that one moment when they scored those 3 goals against Konkola Blaze, when Brian Miller helped himself to a hat-trick. But all in all, I'm sure Zanaco can't wait for the day they are going to play against Mutondo Stars as the only remaining promoted side.
It might sound like it's a negative for Zanaco that they're only beating promoted sides. But the beauty is they're not losing to the big boys. They are collecting a point there and making the big boys as well drop points. So which in the grand scheme of things might just work to their advantage, because they will come a time when they'll be beating everyone.
Can you say that against what happened against Zanaco in their recent match, what happened against Nkwazi, against Napsa Stars, and what happened when they played against it was against Green Buffaloes and against Napsa Stars, when they were beaten by Napsa Stars, remember, 3-0.
Are you asking me?
You're saying they're not losing against the big boys.
Are you asking me?
We know what you want to say. If he says he's asking you.
Let's say you can just go ahead and say what you want to say. Yes, I'm the dumb one.
Yeah, the bloody analyst.
So I think
I'm looking for them to run away.
I think, to be fair with Zanaco, I think Dazo makes a fair point. The fact that Zanaco drew against Zesco United, Zanaco drew against defending champions Power Dynamo. So if you're not going to beat the defending champions, at least get a point off. And the league being a marathon, not a sprint, I think at the end of the season, we will not be looking so much on where you got your 3 points. We'll be looking at how many points on aggregate you managed to accumulate, regardless of where the team was last season that you beat more than once.
Plenty of action this weekend in the MTN FAS Super League that has entered week 12. Patrick Banda, watching from Chalala, we appreciate your company. Mighty Mufulira Wanderers will lace up against Napsa Stars at their home ground, Shinde Stadium, and most teams that go there come back empty-handed. Are you seeing this happening this afternoon?
If there's one team that has been putting up the on and off performances this season, Napsa Stars is definitely one of those. They haven't really been shown that consistency, considering the quality of players that they have. You look at likes of Zikiru Adams. Yes, they may still have lost the likes of Jimmy Mukea, who is with Kansanshi Dynamos at the moment, as one of those strikers that they had. But Zikiru is one of those players that is capable of scoring against any opponent that they may be facing. This time playing against Mfulira Wanderers, who were only saved by a very, very dodgy decision by the referees or match officials last time around when they played against Green Eagles. I don't know how in the world that
allegedly
it's not
dodgy
it was
decision.
Did you see it?
Yes.
You saw it,
Mm.
and it doesn't look dodgy.
It is, but it cannot be justified.
It's very much justified
How?
according to the rules of the game.
What are those rules?
There was no offside. I'm hitting the ball outside the 18 area. You've got a cluster of players in the 18. You've got two defenders in the goal somewhere there. The goalkeeper is in there, and then you say it's offside. How?
Where
very
lines,
offside.
where lines drawn?
That's why you don't even need the even when you have closed one of your eyes or you are squinting, you are going to be able to see everything as clear as it was. There was nothing like that. So that's the kind of situation that prevailed last weekend. So Mighty Mfulira Wanderers have proved to be very good when they are playing at home against any other side that they have faced. We've seen how they have gotten points against Nkana. Even the other very impressive result last time around, they went to play away against Trident and collected maximum points. The only blemish in their last 5 games was the game in which they lost against Musa 1-0. Another game that had a little bit of some issues there. But all in all, I think for me, Mighty look more of a stronger side than Napsa Stars in terms of the results that they have gotten this season. And the table as well does not lie. Mighty Mfulira Wanderers are on 16 points with Napsa Stars are on 11 points so far as it stands. So for me, I believe that Mighty Mfulira Wanderers are going to be too strong for Napsa Stars. The best Napsa Stars probably can do in this match is just get a point, because they are one of those sides that have not been so consistent in terms of the results that they have been getting and just the overall play. Because if you look at the play in the last 6 games, Napsa Stars have only managed 1 win, and that was the 3-2 win against the Mutondo Stars, and they have done 3 and lost 2. So I think if anything is to go by, depending on these results, the way they have been coming, you can only see Mighty Mfulira Wanderers collecting a maximum point from here.
Mutondo Stars will be at Arthur Davis Stadium to tussle it out with Zesco United. On paper, this is a fixture you expect Zesco United to win easily, but we all know when promoted sides take on the big boys of the league, they just tend to raise their game to a different level. And pressure is on Zesco to win this game because everyone expects them to win. For Mutondo Stars, this is the free hit, Xavier.
Yes, you'd actually say it's Mutondo Stars in this particular fixture have nothing to lose. But I think the bubble that Mutondo Stars came with when they won promotion and that weekend when they beat Nkana, I can safely say has finally best, because the results that have gone on to post after that victory over Nkana has been different to the extent that the last 3 matches, for example, they've lost all 3 matches. They lost to Power Dynamos, they lost to Konkola Blades, they lost to Nkwazi. Their last win came against Prison Leopards, where they won 3-2. That was after losing again to Napsa Stars. I think the promise they showed in that victory over Nkana, at the time, the Nkana Wolves were not even there. I think Nkana was doing very well at the time. It was only the 3rd week of the new season, and we thought that of the 4 teams that won promotion, Mutondo was going to represent the championship or the National First Division far much better than any of the other 3 teams. But they've gone on to lose a few matches that after the heights they went to, you'd expect them to get at least a point off these teams have lost to. But Zesco United, they started the season not really on a sound note, but they went on and collected points from teams like Green Buffaloes. They beat Green Eagles. They drew against Power Dynamos. They beat Kongola Blades. You would think that with the kind of players they have, with the kind of coaching bench they have, very strong with Chicken George Rwandamina, they would go on to march to the summit of the table. But that has not been the case. In midweek, for example, they beat Red Arrows in a match that had very few chances. I was looking at the updates actually from the Facebook pages of the two teams, and I like the banter that is coming up in the media circles of these clubs. I think it's very interesting. I was looking at what Red Arrows was posting in the game. You could see that the game is evenly poised, and the Red Arrows media page was bringing out issues like the Bobo is not surrendering the ball on time. And there was something interesting. They posted 3 minutes to go with Zesco leading, and the Red Arrows team said something like, oh, now it's in the dying minutes of the game and Zesco players are falling all over like anthrax infected animals. I thought it's a kind of banter that is permissible in football, and the timeliness, knowing that currently the country is going through this anthrax crisis, it brings up current affairs as well as keeping it in the game.
I hate anthrax.
Because it didn't go to Impo and other.
It denies me T-ball.
Just as well for me, because the last time I took that, I think somewhere in 1998.
It's the last time you ate beef?
Yeah.
You don't know what you're missing.
I would rather be missing that, definitely.
We have temporarily joined you.
Yeah, just as.
But we'll overcome anthrax and get back
to T-bone, yes. So anyway, the Zesco United against the Mtondo against Zesco fixed. I think all in all, we expect that on paper Zesco United get maximum point. And I also just wanted to mention that the game Mambo was talking about just before me, the game between Mufulira Wanderers and NAPSA is actually tomorrow, not today.
Oh, it's been moved.
Yes, because Mufulira Wanderers played their midweek fixture.
Oh yeah, on Thursday.
Yeah,
if you play on Thursday, you play your games on Sunday.
Yes.
I know because of Liverpool.
Really?
Because Arsenal play the UEFA Champions League games either on Tuesday or Wednesday, so they can play on Saturday.
They can even play on Friday.
Yeah. Not too sure about Chelsea. If at all they are in Europa.
They don't know those things.
Not even in the Conference League.
Chelsea can play on any day, even on Tuesday.
They don't understand.
They can even play in the Christmas tournament.
Let's leave it there. Trident will lock horns with Prison Leopards at Nkana Stadium in Kitwe.
Another Sunday game. Trident, it's really been a rough ride for them. Are they the only team yet to win a match this season? Are they walking in the path of...
won 2 games this season.
Yeah, you can boast.
Yeah.
Are they walking in the path of Buttecon? Because Buttecon was so much of a mess last season. And at Trident, I thought being champions of the National League last season are coming in with that record. I thought they were going to be a force to run with. But like I've said before, I think having lost their key player, Baby Ronka Musangala, who joined Power Dynamos, I think affected them a little bit. Not a little bit. I think they are not getting so much in terms of good results. They had to offload quite a good number of players who maybe could have helped, but I think the technical bench and management thought that maybe those players, as much as they were part of the team that helped the team get a promotion to the Super League, they were not up to standard in terms of playing the high level of the Super League. But they've really been a team that has not done very well. Even when you expected them to do a little bit better playing against the teams that they were playing against in the National League, they've still not done what is expected of them. Just like they were beaten 2 weeks ago by Mighty Mufulira Wanderers 2-1 at home. And last weekend, they did much better, playing away from home, playing against NAPSA Stars, getting away with a scoreless draw. Their defense on this Pat did a tremendous job having not conceded in that match against Napsa Stars. So playing against the Prison Leopards. Again, this is the Prison Leopards that had gone a stretch of about 7 games without win. They only had one draw in that stretch where they lost 6 games, drawing 1. And they had to stop the road when they played against Forest Rangers in this match, where it was expected that it was going to be another tough assignment in midweek for Prison Leopards. But against Forest Rangers, against all odds, they put a surprise and managed to win this game 2-1 with David Obashi and Mambepa scoring, Mike Mambepa scoring in that 2-1 win over Forest Rangers. As for me, I do not expect Prison Leopards to be the first victims of Trident in this fixture, and I think I definitely expect Prison Leopards to get something out of this match, even if it's Trident that are going to be the home side. So for me, I think probably the best result for Trident, another draw, having picked a draw in their last previous encounter against Napsa Stars.
Forest Rangers up against High Flying Kwazi.
They are indeed flying high this season, Kwazi, and they benefited from the referee's alleged mistake in midweek, and I think aside from that result, Kwazi has done well this season. Look at where they find themselves on the league table. I think this is an uncharted territory for them. At some point after leading the log, and they've done so well. They've collected results in matches that ideally you'd expect them to struggle. They are currently on number 5 on the table, 2 points behind league leaders Cabo Warriors, and I think playing Forest Rangers today, they will fancy themselves a chance of winning this one. So Forest Rangers, on the other hand, after losing coach, I think they haven't headed the ship yet. They've struggled for form this season. Last season they were doing so well. They were matching Power Dynamos punch for punch, both in the and in the APSA Cup, which they ended up winning. In the preseason Charity Shield, they did so. They beat the defending champions. You'd think that this season they would go one step better and be able to go all the way and win the league probably, but that hasn't been the case. They've struggled for form this season, and in a match against Nkwazi, who are doing so well this season, I think Forest Rangers will find it very difficult to get maximum point. But that's not to say that it's undoable, because I think the number of players that Forest Rangers has, for example, Jack Chirwa, who was a never-presence midfielder at Green Buffaloes, he was doing so well. Tik Chirwa, one of the players that did so well at NAPS. I think Forest Rangers will just need to organize themselves to ensure that they get back to winning ways. They are currently on a run of, in the last 5 matches, they've only won 1 match and lost 1 and drawn 3, as opposed to Nkwazi, who are on a run of winning 3 matches on a bounce. And I think this is a very impressive form for Nkwazi. They will fancy themselves to go all the way and beat Forest Rangers, for those matches being played in the backyard of Forest in Ndola.
FC Muza, during the week, they had their unbeaten run come to an end. Will be at home, where they are a tough nut to crack. They made their home ground a fortress, and Konkola Blades are hoping to be sharp against Muza.
Why should they be sharp when they were beaten by Nkana, who are hardly winning this season? And
Surely, did you need to say that? How does Nkana come in this? Yes, they beat Konkola Blades.
Chambeshi, that's their immediate last encounter. It was Nkana. With Coach Beston Chambeshi having been appointed at Konkola Blades, you expect that the experience probably of Beston Chambeshi is going to come to the fore and be able to help the team in terms of just stabilizing and getting important result. I think for me, the task for teams like Konkola Blades is not so much in terms of doing a very, very good job in terms of winning. For me, it's about surviving in the Super League, like it is at the moment. It's very, very close at the bottom, with Konkola Blades occupying the last position in terms of relegation places at position number 15. and they are only separated 4 points with the bottom placed team, which is Trident, and then there's also Nkana and Prison Lepers, which are trailing by a point from Konkola Blades. So it's still going to be a very, very difficult task for Konkola Blades now to go to Muza. Muza still hurting from that loss against Nkwazi, 1-2 goes to 1, where they conceded a very, very late goal that was scored by Emmanuel Chabula, the returning boy. Remember, he's a Kito United, Nkwazi, he's been to Buffalo, has been to Lusaka Dynamos, and he's back at Nkwazi. He scored.
He's a journeyman.
Quite a journeyman he is, and he's not as prolific as he was when he was at Quito United. For me, that's why he did a lot of damage in terms of really troubling defenders and scoring a lot of goals. But he has not really proved himself up to that level in terms of scoring goals after having left to come to Lusaka. But all in all, it's going to be a tricky encounter for Konkola Blades playing against this Muza side, because Muza have been a very, very good side. They've not really been destabilized by the departure of Coach Lamek Banda. They've still seem to be in very good state. They've not been seemingly affected by the elimination in continental football. They've still come back to say that was a learning phase. We are participating in that for the very first time. Let's go back and do the business. But one thing in that game against Nkwazi for Muza was the players that came from the bench. Sometimes, yes, you want to leave some of those players that you know can come and affect the game in the later stages. And when the likes of Gift Simanasa, who was left on the bench, was introduced in the game, you could see firepower in that game against Nkwazi. And I'm hoping that maybe that outing and the performance that the players that came from the bench put up was strong enough to indicate to the coach to say, we want to be starters in this game. And I believe with the likes of Andrew Piri and definitely Muza has got all those players that we believe can be able to do the job. They still have Emmanuel Manda, former Butcon player, who has been on the score sheet a good number of times already. This is about 2, 3, 4 times already has been on the score sheet. So Muza have got enough arsenal to make sure that they can hit Konkola Blades, and definitely I do not see Muza lose this one.
Kawa Warriors will be hoping to bounce back against Green Eagles, having suffered defeat during midweek.
Yes, Kawa Warriors suffered defeat in midweek, but they are still topping the table. They are 1 point clear of FC Muza. They are back at their home ground and hoping that they can bounce back to winning ways. They face Green Eagles, who also didn't win in midweek, although for them it was a point gained as opposed to a point lost because they drew against Mufulira Wanderers. Coach Numbamamba, I think he has found some winning formula at Kawa Warriors this season. Looking at the kind of opposition they've beaten so far, I think the top 10 on the log, they've already faced them and they've come away with very good results. They played Kawa Warriors, and you'd think that Kawa Warriors played Zesco United. You'll be thinking that this is a match in which they'll get undone for two reasons. One, that Zesco United is coached by former Kawa Warriors coach, and Warriors is coached by former Zesco United mentor. You would think that when they come head to head, one of them will come undone. And in this case, it was Numba whose side Kawa Warriors came out on top. Kawa Warriors has played Power Dynamos as well and went out with a 2-0. They played Kawa Warriors last weekend. They played Green Buffalo, last weekend, and they beat them 3-0. And that was on the back of Buffaloes showing some sign of form of their own. But when you look at the other teams they've played, they've been Mufulira Wanderers at Chinde Stadium, where Wanderers were leading 2-0, but they got undone. Kawa Warriors ended up with a draw. They lost to Forest Rangers in a match that you thought, again, Kawa Warriors was going to end up winning. But foot being what it is, Forest Rangers on that particular day wrapped up the point. Kawa has done so well, it's no wonder they're on top of the table. Today they face Green Eagles. Remember, the Green Eagles coach was on an ultimatum of some sort. He was asked to win 5 matches or he would lose his job. And from the time that ultimatum came through, he's managed to win matches. I think they've not lost a match since then. And maybe that ultimatum has since been overtaken by events. But coming to Kawa Warriors, in Cabo itself, they haven't lost so much. They don't give away so much, and I think Green Eagles may just find out that the Godfrey Yuka Chitalo Stadium is a difficult hunting ground for any team in the league.
I hear in Lusaka today, everywhere you are going, there's just something that is happening. I hear this song is playing everywhere as we speak now. You might think it's just one big nightclub playing a song. Before we annoy Power Dynamo supporters. Mambo, do you think that song will play at the end of the day today? It is one of the best derbies south of the equator. When this game is taking place, Zambia as a country comes to a standstill. Everyone wants to watch it, and it is a game that neither of the two teams wants to lose.
Definitely, and for the Lusaka fans, it's something that I've seen a number of fans say, I'm going to be watching this derby for the very first time, like live at the stadium. It's been in Kitwe, both sides are based in Kitwe, that's why it's called a derby anyway. So for those Lusaka fans that could not manage to travel to Kitwe during derby time, now they have it in Lusaka here, and a number of them have actually never watched this matchup before. And Fonkana coming into this game from the back of that sweet victory against Konkola Blades. I know I can see you are smiling when I mentioned the word sweet. Yeah. It was a very good victory that Nkana got again. Yeah, definitely a very, very good victory. And you do not want to get into a derby with a disappointing result. You want to go in the derby with a very positive result, with the morale very high. Harrison Chisala definitely as the key player from Ghana, skip of the side. You have got the likes of David Kabala, who haven't really shined this season the way he played last season. Really, he was scoring a good number of goals. Then you have got the likes of Jacob Ngulube, Eric Kiema, also part of that Nkana midfield. How much of that how much of effort is that midfield going to put in to make sure that they thwart the creativity of the likes of Joshua Mutale? You've got the likes of Owen Tembo in the middle of the park. You've got Godfrey Ngwenya, who seemed to be back in terms of form, and he's one player who's really struggled with injuries in the recent past, but we know the quality that he has. He's one player who can score from outside the box when given a chance. He's got that lethal left foot, and at the back we know Power Dynamos can be very, very strong. Bakodila is back from injury. You have got the likes of former Cabo Warriors, Dominic Chanda there also, who can be available, and you've got the likes of Luka Chamanga. So Power Dynamos are really looking very good in terms of quality on the player front that they have. So,
and Nkana?
I think player for player, definitely Power are the stronger side.
Where is this game going to be won and lost?
I think it's definitely more in the chances that are going to be created, and we know when Power Dynamos create chances, but Boeli does not need so many for him to convert.
He doesn't need the second invitation.
He doesn't need the second invitation. He's one of those lethal strikers. I just love his intelligence. He's not one of those players that is going to just come in there and blast the ball past the goalkeeper. He really just knows how to pass the ball in the back of the net. He's very good at placement. So for me, that shows intelligence. So I've seen James Chamanga score quite a good number of goals like that, where he just knows the position of the goalkeeper and he just placed the ball on the left or right side of the goalkeeper and it's in the back of the net. So for me, Power looked the stronger. Have Nkana looked like they have adapted very well at Woodland Stadium? No, they haven't, because they have not really picked so much.
Where is this game going to be played? I heard Woodlands, I heard Hero Stadium, back at Woodlands. Where is it going to be played?
It's back at Woodlands.
It's back at Woodlands.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen a number of tickets already that people have managed to acquire, and it's clearly saying Woodland Stadium.
So it won't be too small?
Could be, but I think Heroes would still be too big. I don't think we have got any match that can fill Hero Stadium in Zambia.
The same fixture comes closest.
The Eokopa again.
The same fixture comes closest to what we can use to fill up Hero Stadium.
Yeah, if
Oh, unless we-
you would see how Simba and Yanga filled up that Benjamin Mkapa Stadium, huge, massive.
Who is winning? Power Nkana.
I'll go Power Dynamos.
I knew.
Yeah.
Xavier.
I'll go for a scoring draw.
Okay, that sounds fair.
I think for me, the fact that Nkana has been playing in Lusaka, Nkana has since acquired a few undecided Lusaka fans, and on that score,
We're already there. They don't need to attract more fans. They already have a huge number of fans in Osaka.
I think on that score, the 12th man will be very instrumental for Nkana.
Score draw, you've gone for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So definitely the match is tomorrow, Sunday at Woodland Stadium.
Yeah. Now, before we leave the studios, we only have 2 minutes. Any particular fixture from major leagues in the world this weekend that you feel is going to excite people?
There's also a Soweto derby, Kaizer Chiefs versus Orlando Pirates. In the past, that derby was very interesting for us because we always had Zambian players in there. And I think it has left an indelible mark on our local soccer fans who still follow.
When is it
that
taking
fixture.
place?
It's taking place this afternoon.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, is Chelsea playing against Manchester City this
Yes,
tomorrow.
on Sunday.
Yeah, on Sunday tomorrow. So
That is a big
we
game.
expect an interesting match. Chelsea going to build up in terms of momentum from the way they played against Tottenham Hotspurs. Hopefully so.
For me, the big game is Bournemouth. No, sorry, Arsenal Burnley.
Okay. Company Arteta.
Vincent Company needs to be told that when you are playing certain teams, those that love to attack, mass up your defense. I think he goes gung ho.
He just does not have the quality of players, and I think he learned from Guardiola. Arteta also is more of a student of Guardiola, so it could still be an interesting match. It could still be an interesting match, this one.
But do you think Burnley can beat Arsenal?
Arteta was a coach to Company when he was assistant to Guardiola. So
who is Man U playing?
Luton Town.
Beating Luton Town.
Luton Town.
Just like they beat Copenhagen.
Yeah.
Luton Town, they almost beat Liverpool, so they exhausted the Arsenal.
Oh, okay. Then Liverpool?
Those teams that play on Thursdays are difficult to play.
I thought Liverpool plays. Just check quickly, Mambo. The Liverpool fans will feel unfairly treated if we don't mention who they are playing.
I think Liverpool they are playing tomorrow.
Yeah. Who are they playing just before we end the program?
Liverpool are going to be playing against
Brentford.
Not an easy fixture.
Not an easy one. Mbeumo would have something to say about that.
Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you so much. We hope to see you next Saturday.
Thank you very much. Hopefully to see you.
All things being equal.
Thank you
very much.
If other people won't be in Ndola.
When we come back from Ndola, we'll be talking about the game.
Oh, yeah.
Zambia against Congo Brazil.
Yeah, you can fly back after the game, Mambo.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. This has been Football Time on 5FM and Muchinga Radio in Chinsali, our partner radio station for this show. Do have a great footballing weekend. We'll talk to you again next Saturday. Until then, from myself, Mambo, and Xavier, it's goodbye.